Darwin didn't know anything about the foundation of life. He and his contemporaries thought that the cell was a little piece of jello, protoplasm, they'd call it.
This is a supposed professor named Michael Behe, I think is how it's pronounced. He claims to be a professor of biochemistry at Lehigh University. I've never heard of that, but Lehigh is a Mormon character. So is it a Mormon school? I don't know. Anyway, the reason I'm showing you this guy right now is because he's advocating for intelligent design. And there's something going on in the world of intelligent design right now. If you don't know what intelligent design is, I'll tell you. We'll talk about it in a second. But it's basically a challenge to evolution. They're trying to disprove evolution effectively. So there's this article I wanted to talk about on the Friendly Atheist website, friendlyatheist.com. It has a Substack, I believe. West Virginia Republicans refile bill to get intelligent design in classrooms with a twist. Is anybody surprised that it was West Virginia schools doing this, honestly? Absolutely absurd. Let me show you this video from this Michael Behe guy, just to give you a little idea of what intelligent design is exactly.
Now, it turns out, if any of these parts are missing, the trap doesn't work.
This is holding a mousetrap if you're listening.
So not only is it complex, it's what I called irreducibly complex. You can't take a part away and still have it work. If you
I suppose
took away this hammer, the mice don't get caught. Take away the spring or the holding bar, any of the pieces, it doesn't work. Now, the problem for Darwin's theory is that, number one, the molecular foundation of life is run by machines. The cell is run by actual machines.
No, they aren't machines. They operate similarly to machines, I suppose. They're not machines, though. They're cells. That's why they have the name cell, because they're cells. This is what I like to call a runaway analogy. Jehovah's Witnesses do this all the time. He's taking an analogy, something that's analogous to what he's talking about, a mousetrap, right? And he's saying this mousetrap would not function if we took one of the parts away. Well, yeah, that's true. And he's saying, well, this mousetrap is exactly like the cell. No, it's not at all. Everything that has come to be has had a transitionary period. How do you think the wing evolved? People say that the wing, or better yet, the eye has evolved at least 5 times independently throughout nature, I think. It started out as a light sensor because, the light has been the source of energy production since the dawn of time, since the very beginning, basically. And the closer to a light source something is, the more they benefit from that, the more energy they take in. So evolution basically selected for things that had more sensitivity to light. It could have started out as a sensitivity to warmth, for example. Maybe they have a little, like a membrane that senses warmth or senses like different colors or not different colors, but different brightness or whatever. And the ones that can sense brightness, say little organisms in the ocean, the ones that can sense it will swim up toward the brightness and benefit from more sunlight. The ones that don't sense brightness will just float around doing what they were doing, and they will not benefit as much. Quick interjection, this won't take long. If you like what I do, I'd appreciate it if you watch the video to the end. YouTube bases video reach off of watch time, so watching even an extra minute makes the video go further. Liking and subscribing goes a long way too. Finally, it would be awesome if you guys checked out my Patreon. All links are in the description, of course. Okay, back to the video. Evolution comes in 3 stages, really, or 3 pillars. The first one is gene duplication. Every time there's a reproduction of any kind, sexual or asexual, splitting off or whatever, genes are multiplied. They're duplicated. Like entire sets. Like we have like 3 or 4 genes for blue eyes, for example. We don't need all of that. That's the first pillar, gene duplication. The second one is mutation. Every now and then, one of those keys on that gene mutates. It changes. It alters. So now, instead of blue eyes, somebody gets an altered gene that turns their eyes green. Is that beneficial? Not really. That's why, green eyes, blue eyes are not really favored in any way. But those who have beneficial traits have a better opportunity to reproduce, to propagate. They survive better, and that's the third pillar, selection. Selection can come in a variety of forms. Natural selection, sexual selection, artificial selection, all kinds of different forms of selection. That's how evolution works. So the ones that could sense light better had more reproduction cycles. They took in more energy. And all you had to start with was one little membrane that could kind of sense light a little bit. And from there, that specific thing got better and better and better and better and better at sensing light until we ended up with the eye. Again, the eye has independently appeared like 5 or more times in nature, completely separate from any others. So this mousetrap thing that he's doing here, runaway analogy. Yeah, eyes are extremely complex, and you would think that they'd be irreducible, right? You have rod cells, you have cone cells. One senses light, one senses color, and you have like a pupil that dilates, that makes the light come in at a certain... Like, there are a whole bunch of pieces here that if you just took one away, it wouldn't function anymore. It's irreducibly complex, seemingly, but it's not a top-down build order. It's a bottom-up build order. So every time we have some mutation, some new thing, some alteration in our genes, one little thing, one tiny thing can change and give us an advantage over other populations, of other demographics. You know, we didn't start out with wings, for example. Like, birds didn't always have wings. For a while, they just had, like, nubs that stuck out. You know, they had feathers, and some of them that had longer nubs could jump a lot higher, and they could go further when they jumped. Like chickens, if you throw a chicken, for example, it'll flap its wings, and it'll come to a slow, light fall. It won't crash into the ground. That is like a transition between a full-blown wing, the ability to fly, and just being able to jump a little bit better than you could previously. Elephants right now are evolving away tusks because they're being hunted to extinction for their tusks. The elephants that aren't hunted for their tusks because they don't have any are surviving and reproducing faster than the ones that are being hunted for their tusks. And that's causing the population of elephants to evolve tusks away, basically. That's how evolution works. There is no irreducible complexity about this. It's been unequivocally and beyond a shadow of a doubt proven. Evolution is a fact. It's not a theory. It's not a law. It is a fact. There's a fact of evolution, and the fact of evolution plays into the overarching framework that describes the world around us, known as a theory. So anyway, let's listen to this professor tell us about intelligent design some more with his runaway analogy while I give you air quotes.
Actual machines made out of molecules.
Says they're actual machines in cells. No, they're cells.
People find that fantastic, but hey, that's the way it is. There are little machines that act like outboard motors that can propel cells along.
What was that? Did he say act like? I feel like he just said act like motors. Because a second ago he said they are machines. Who is this guy anyway? I gotta know. Michael Behe Lehigh. What is, all right, Lehigh University. Let's find out what Lehigh University is. Quick note before we continue, I want to let you know I just wrote a book and it's in pre-order status at this immediate moment. If you want to check it out, owenmorgan.com/book. It's a book about my experiences within Jehovah's Witnesses. I go through their doctrine and everything. It's completely understandable if you know nothing about Jehovah's Witnesses. And if you're a Christian, it's a good reference to use for why Jehovah's Witnesses are wrong about their interpretation of the Bible. The last chapter of the book is 100 questions that I have for the governing body. I'm selling the last chapter separately as its own separate guide if you guys want to get that too. So check it out, owenmorgan.com/book. I'd appreciate that. What is, all right, Lehigh University. Let's find out what Lehigh University is. Private research university in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Wow, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. In the Lehigh Valley region of eastern Pennsylvania, university was established in 1865 by businessman Asa Packer, initially affiliated with the Episcopal Church. Oh, so it's a religious university. It was originally affiliated. Is it not any longer? Hold on, I'm just trying to figure this out. Let's just look at the Wikipedia page. Private research university, undergrad program have been co-educational since 71 to 72 academic year. As of 2019, university had 5,000 undergrads and 1,800 grad students. It has 5 colleges: P.C. Rawson College of Engineering, Applied Science, College of Arts and Sciences, so on and so forth. U.S. News and World Report's best colleges ranking ranked Lehigh tied for 47th among national universities, tied for 26th for best undergrad teaching. Wow, is this a legitimate university? It's a for-profit college, so I'm automatically skeptical, but what I'm seeing seems to imply that it's legit. I thought for sure it was going to be some kind of a questionable university. I think it's legit. One might even say too legit to quit. Michael Behe, Lehigh University. All right, let's look into this dude. Michael Behe, PhD. Oh, wow, look, right on his Lehigh University page, he has that stupid mousetrap. I'm interested in the evolution of complex biochemical systems. Despite much progress by science in the past half-century in understanding how such systems work, little progress has been made in explaining how they arise. What are you talking about? Of course it has. We have a ton of science. We understand this stuff flawlessly. And the things that we don't fully understand yet, the answer is not, it's literally impossible. The answer is, well, we just don't know yet. This dude is a joke. I don't know if this university is legit or not, but I have hard doubt that it is, just based on the fact that this guy is one of the professors, A, and B, that they would even allow something this stupid on his page, on his Lehigh University faculty page. Who is this dude?
And other machines that carry cargo from one part of a cell to another. And those machines, just like pretty much any machine, and including the mousetrap, have a number of different parts performing different roles.
Okay, I guess it depends on what you mean by machine, right?
And they're all needed for the machine to work. Darwin's theory of evolution requires that natural selection favor an organism that has a very small change that helps the organism.
Doesn't have to be a small change. It can be a dramatic change all at once. It could be the case that the genes are duplicated, and I think on average when a baby is born, it has an average of like 70 gene mutations, for example, a human baby. Don't quote me on that. I think that's the case. 70 gene mutations. So imagine gene duplication and then 70 mutations on top of that. Imagine the dramatic changes that could take place. We see dramatic changes all the time in humans. A lot of the time they're negative. Sometimes they're really, really valuable, really positive. There's somebody who's an Olympic swimmer, I think, who has this mutation in their genes that makes it so that they don't have lactic acid buildup in their muscles. So basically their muscles never get tired. They just keep on going. That is a valuable gene mutation. It can be slight too, but add up to dramatic changes overall. And you never know how things are going to be useful when it all comes together anyway. This guy can't possibly not know this, right? He must know this. I got a GED, okay? I dropped out of high school. I got a 2-year degree in substance abuse counseling. Everything that I know about evolution is self-taught. I didn't learn any of this in schools. And this guy's a professor. You cannot tell me that he doesn't know this.
Small change that helps the organism do something better. So if we're taking that view of Darwinism, we can ask, how could something like this, something like a mousetrap, be put together one tiny step at a time?
Well, we don't need to understand how a mousetrap could be put together one step at a time, because mousetraps are not put together one step at a time inside of cells. This is a runaway analogy.
And it turns out it's surprisingly difficult.
Yeah, it is surprisingly difficult. With cells, even. It takes millions of years, billions even. In fact, there are some events that took place evolutionarily that only ever happened once, one single time. We used to have prokaryotes, I think it was called, prokaryotes. They're basically single-celled organisms incapable of building multiple cells. And they ran off of this power source called ATP. I could be getting this wrong. I'll have my editor fact check everything. If you are listening to me say it right now in this final form, everything I said just now is accurate. Prokaryotes and archaea are the two primary types of life that were on the earth billions of years ago. Prokaryotes, they were both single cells. So prokaryotes were going around gobbling things up, and one day a prokaryote absorbed an archaea. Instead of digesting that archaea, it kept the archaea inside and basically generated like energy for it. It generated ATP for that prokaryote. And of course, asexual reproduction, it split off, and the next one. So it basically, it was a single event that took place that was 1 in a trillion. It was so incredibly unlikely that this would happen, but it happened once, and that's all it needed. After that, it had mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. Now, prokaryotes could generate as much energy as they needed, basically, because they had a core that was doing it for them. The point is that there are some very, very difficult things that took place, some extremely unlikely things. But guess what? Over the course of 4.5 billion years with a B, do you know how long it takes to count to 1 million? It takes 11 days. 11 days. Do you know how long it takes to count to 1 billion? It takes 31 years to count to 1 billion. 11 days versus 31 years. It took 4.5 billion years to get to where we are today. And there are like 5 at least separate events that are so extremely unlikely that they only ever happened a single time. And life wouldn't exist as it is today if they didn't. So yeah, it's a difficult process. Absolutely, I agree. 100%. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. It means it took it billions of years to happen. Just because one is educated does not mean that they're brilliant or even bright, as you obviously are. I appreciate that. I think you give the professor too much credit. Yeah, well, to get to this level, he has to at least show that he understands the core concepts in his field of research. He's a biochemistry research professor, I believe. He must understand evolution to have gotten to this point, right?
If you just had the wooden platform, just the bottom, that doesn't catch mice. If you put on, say, this holding bar, you might say, well, maybe if a mouse is running along, it would trip on the platform and impale itself on the holding bar. But that's kind of just silly.
No, that's exactly how these things happen. Again, runaway analogy, this doesn't even apply to evolution at all. But if there's even a 0.01% chance that this will be slightly more beneficial to anything, to a living organism, then it reproduces more than the ones that don't have it. That is the concept behind gene duplication, mutations, and selection, the selection process. It's not silly. That's how it works.
So this can't be made gradually. So that's a big problem for Darwin's theory because...
No, it's not a problem for Darwin's theory.
Pretty much the foundation of life, these things are all over the place. And furthermore, you can ask yourself, well, how do we recognize intelligence? And it turns out that the way that we recognize intelligence is by what I call a purposeful arrangement of parts. And that's when different parts are put up in relationship to each other.
How you recognize intelligence. Okay, well, I don't think that that's anybody else's definition, but I suppose you can have your own definition.
Where you can see that they have a purpose. That is, the arrangement has a purpose. An easy example are letters in a word. People put the letters in to form a word. Words.
Like, what does he even mean by intelligence exactly? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, dogs can arrange things in certain ways, right? Does that mean there's intelligence in dogs? What is he trying to define? Is he trying to define intelligence or life? I can't tell.
To make a sentence and so on. And not only is this arrangement this can't be put together gradually, but we immediately see that the arrangement of these parts has a purpose. And so we immediately grasp the intelligence that was.
Oh, so everything that's arranged that is useful to something or somebody or whatever was created by an intelligence, is what he's saying. Interesting. So if I find a rock out in the desert that is perfect for sitting, right outside, like right next to an oasis, which is perfect for drinking, that's a purpose. And I can assume that an intelligence put those there for me. That's what he's saying. I mean, I'm not even being facetious. This is what he's trying to explain. This is insane. How is this guy this wrong? How is it that he doesn't understand the most basics of his field of research, seemingly?
Needed to produce something like this. And again, I can't emphasize enough that Darwin didn't know anything about the foundation of life. He and his contemporaries thought that the cell was a little piece of jello, protoplasm, that
Sure. And I don't understand. So?
Call it. And it was mysterious, did cool stuff, but they didn't know how, so they pretty much ignored it.
So what? Who cares? Yeah, Darwin lived in like the 1800s. Of course he didn't understand all this stuff. We learned about all this stuff later. He's acting as though Darwin is like he wrote a Bible that is unchangeable and infallible and permanent and fixed, and we learn from it today. Like, he wrote this book, Origin of Species, or whatever it was, and we dissect every single word to figure out how things work. Like, what are you even talking about right now?
But modern science has shown that the cell is a lot like a ultra sophisticated nanoscale factory.
Okay, I suppose.
Far beyond anything that humans could produce.
Okay. He's losing me here, but whatever.
And again, they're just chock full of machinery that is much more sophisticated than this simple little mousetrap. So not only have I become skeptical of Darwin, but you can
be skeptical of Darwin. He was a fool. He had no idea what he's talking about. He was also racist, wasn't he? He's not some hero, some like God. His words are not infallible. I don't care about Darwin. Great, be skeptical of Darwin.
So not only have I become skeptical of Darwin, but you can readily see the design in life. So I've argued that many of these machines were purposefully designed.
You don't say. You've argued that, huh? I don't know who this dude is, but he's a joke. Anyway, now you know what intelligent design is, now that we've talked about it a little bit, just in case you were unfamiliar. Most people probably already knew, but it's good to have a little refresher. Let's talk about the Friendly Atheist article here. West Virginia Republicans refile bill to get intelligent design in classrooms, with a twist. Intelligent design is pseudoscience at best. It's nonsense. And it was adjudicated in the Scopes monkey trial, I think is what it's called, back in the 20s or 30s. It was decided that intelligent design is not science. It is pseudoscience. Evolution is scientific and should be taught in schools. I don't remember when the case took place. Once again, West Virginia Republicans are trying to inject intelligent design in public school science classes. State Senator Amy Grady, State Senator, I didn't know that, District 4, interesting, okay. State Senator Amy Grady, along with her colleagues Jay Taylor, Mike Stewart, Rollin A. Roberts, Rupi Phillips, Vince Deeds, Eric J. Tarr, and Michael T. Azinger, recently filed Senate Bill 280, which would add a clause to state code permitting teachers to tell kids some higher power poofed them into existence. Here's part of the bill highlighted in red. It says, teachers in public schools, including public charter schools, that include any one or more of grades kindergarten through 12, may teach intelligent design as a theory of how the universe and or humanity came to exist. This is a joke. Intelligent design did not happen, okay? Look, you want to believe that God poofed it into existence? Great. That is fine with me. Believe it. Great. Fine. but God used evolution to bring us to where we are today. At the very least, the universe is a fine-tuned machine that operates autonomously and flawlessly. And it operates so well that it looks as though there's nobody on the outside doing anything. It looks like it could do everything itself. It looks like it came to be on its own. Now, maybe God did that. Maybe he kickstarted it and made it look like he wasn't anywhere in the system. Sure, great. But what we observe around us, evolution and the Big Bang and cosmic background radiation and abiogenesis and all that other stuff, that is scientific information that we have learned. Objective information. Objective facts. Intelligent design is a misrepresentation of, at best, it's a misrepresentation of God's creation, if you will. If that's how you want to view it, it's at least a misrepresentation of how God did it. It's nonsense. The bill that was introduced didn't define intelligent design. All you need to know about it, though, is that there's no scientific support for the idea. Quit it. Cat's fighting, sorry. Wow, it didn't define intelligent design. That is not good. Ambiguity in bills is a bad thing because that ambiguity will be used to create loopholes, and all bets are off when loopholes appear. It stands in direct opposition to evolution and is nothing more than a religious myth promoted by Christians as a way to push God into the classroom using a plausibly legal framework, since creationism wouldn't make the cut. Even more bizarre, the bill added that clause to a part of the state code that currently says teachers can't be forced to change a grade, and that teachers should decide if a student can move on to the next grade level, which is to say they shoved this procreationism bit in the first place they could find. Oh, interesting. So the part of the state code said teachers can't be forced to change a grade. The reason that that's controversial right now is because a lot of schools are changing it to make it so that your grade can't be lower than a 50. Basically, if you don't turn something in, or if you do really, really poorly, you got 20% of the answers correct, you can't get less than a 50. By doing that, it makes it a little bit easier for people to pass the class. Like if they miss an assignment, it doesn't bring their grade down from an A to like a D or something. They still have an opportunity to pull it up. And some teachers are fighting back at that and saying they should be able to put zeros down. I don't know. I would have to think about it. Like, my opinion on this completely depends on the scientific information. Is it more beneficial to students to be allowed to get a 50% rather than a 0% on failed assignments? There is an objective answer there. I just don't know what it is. This is nothing more than an attempt to destroy science classes by giving teachers leeway and legal cover to spread misinformation to students. If the bill were to pass, you can expect a lawsuit to be filed. After all, intelligent design advocates, or pejoratively, C-design proponentists, I don't understand, have already lost this battle in federal court before. For now, the bill has been referred out of the Senate Education Committee, which happens to be chaired by Grady herself, with no audible objections. Wow. That tells you a lot about how little West Virginia cares about public schools. Tell me about it. I know I found out the hard way. My kid's teacher, a couple years ago, we had to leave the state because my kid's teacher was talking about basically how God would save you if you just leaned on him. It was a sex ed class, and she said, sex is for after marriage, and you need to pray, and try to slip this stuff in a little at a time so I don't get in too much trouble. I mean, it was bad, and we reported her to the superintendent. They did an investigation for a day and closed it. She was deemed innocent and, kept her job, kept her everything. Nothing bad happened. Just, it was disgusting, dude. People driving by our houses, honking their horns and slashing our tires and threatening us to burn our house down and everything. It was nuts.
When you get in 7th grade, we go a tad bit further, and then when you get in 8th grade, we start studying how dangerous sexual thinking and behavior, what it can do to you.
Sexual thinking and behavior is dangerous. It can do something to you. Sexual thinking, do something to you, okay?
Okay? And the one thing is, I'm hoping that you all are brought up by a good family or person.
A good family or person. And pray tell, what does that entail? What does one have to do to be a good family and or person?
Person, whoever's raising you, that they're teaching you right from wrong, and that it's not okay to be sexually active.
So if your parent is not teaching you it's not okay to be sexually active until marriage, they're not a good person.
If you look at the Bible, it says sex isn't for love, it is for what? When is the time you should? After marriage. After marriage.
This is just wrong, dude. Absolutely wrong. Anyway, yeah, it was a big thing. People donated to help me get out of the state and everything. It was crazy. Can never thank my fans enough for all the help that they offer. I couldn't have gotten out of the state without their help. Anyway, that was in a West Virginia classroom. Absolutely psychotic. Hemant Mehta doesn't have to tell me that West Virginia doesn't care about their kids in their classrooms. As a matter of fact, Hemant Mehta was helping me through that situation, advising me, telling me I should go through the proper channels first and telling me what to do next and so on and so forth. He was actually a math teacher for a while, I think. Anyway, the bill did undergo one change before it passed out of the committee on Tuesday. The phrase intelligent design was replaced with scientific theories. The latest version of the bill now says teachers can't be prevented from discussing or answering questions from students about scientific theories of how the universe and or humanity came to exist. Okay, well, intelligent design is not a scientific theory. It's a pseudoscientific creationist conspiracy theory is what it is. Yeah, I don't know what they thought they were accomplishing. I guess maybe they expect to come along later and modify it to include intelligent design as a scientific theory or something. I don't know. That makes the entire bill meaningless. Teachers can already talk about those theories in the classroom. What they can't do is lie to students by responding with ideas that have no basis in science, like intelligent design or creationism. If this revised bill passed, it would still be illegal to teach intelligent design as if it had any legitimacy among scientists. To put it another way, if teaching scientific theories about the origins of our existence are permitted in the classroom, that would, by definition, exclude intelligent design and creationism, which are not scientific. Not that Republicans seem to understand any of this. The revision gave one lawmaker everything he needed to support the bill. Quote, Senator Charles Trump, said he had heartburn over a version of the bill that appeared before the committee during last year's session. I ended up deciding that I would have to vote against it, he said. This committee substitute has addressed the concerns that I had last year, and I'm happy to say that I am now able to support it. ACLU of West Virginia got involved, apparently. What does that even mean? Of course he can support it. The revised bill says teachers can teach legitimate science in the classroom. What they can't do is promote intelligent design or creationism. If there's any confusion here, it's only because Republicans went so far right that they circled back around at the beginning. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely ridiculous, man, the whole thing. On Tuesday, before the revision was made, the ACLU of West Virginia threatened to file a lawsuit if the bill passed. I love everything about it. The ACLU is awesome, man. I love that organization. We don't teach astrology and astronomy class. We don't teach alchemy and chemistry class. We won't be teaching creationism in biology class either. SB 280, allowing intelligent design in public schools, is unconstitutional. We'll see the state in court if it passes. I love it, dude. Absolutely love it. This is sad, man. Oh, no. 2 Hurricane High School juniors. I know Hurricane High. It's actually pronounced Hurricane. I was actually pretty close to Hurricane High. I knew where it was. I knew people there. I, lived in the area. God, this is really... West Virginia is such a train wreck for education. 2 Hurricane High School juniors, Hayden Hodge and Hunter Bernard, promoted the bill to the panel. Hodge, who also addressed the senators last year, said the idea came to him from a science teacher who wished he could discuss intelligent design as an option, but feared repercussions. Yeah, I would hope he would fear repercussions for teaching pseudoscience. I'd be a little upset with people if they were teaching homeopathy in chemistry class or something. Yeah. You should expect repercussions for that. I mean, this is just a joke, man. These people are jokes. Keep reading here. Hodge reminded them that intelligent design is agnostic, meaning it only proposes some kind of consciousness behind the design of the universe. It's not biblical creationism. It doesn't posit any attributes of the consciousness or promote any religious precepts. It doesn't even challenge the theory of evolution, only evolution's precept that the formation of the universe was blind and undirected. It could be God, or it could be flying spaghetti monster, he said. Look, if there was any legitimacy at all to be found in intelligent design, I'd be all over it. There isn't. There's no reason to believe this. It is nonsense. You can believe it if you want, but you're not basing your belief on fact. You're basing it on opinion. At one point in time, we understood the difference between the two. This is Hemant Mehta speaking again. That's just embarrassing for them. Intelligent design is 100% creationism wearing a trench coat and fake mustache. Oh, absolutely. It was only created for creationists by creationists. And if these kids had a science teacher who desperately wanted to lie to kids, that teacher had no business being in a classroom. The fact that they're already this confused about intelligent design reveals that their school has failed them. Yeah, I agree. Sadly, that's not just this school. It's West Virginia schools. All of them, basically. More to the point, if this revised bill passes, their science teacher still couldn't discuss intelligent design in class. So if Republicans are taking a victory lap, it's because they don't even know what they're fighting for anymore. Grady and Taylor, the senators, I think, attempted to file an identical bill with the phrase intelligent design last year. It passed in the state Senate 27-6 with one absence before it died in the House Education Committee. Perhaps this new bill will be more successful. Keep in mind that the House didn't vote against the bill. They just didn't give it a consideration, perhaps because of a lack of time. Wow, that is sad. I mean, the West Virginia House, I'm sure, is decked out with Republicans. And for some reason, it's Republicans that keep pushing intelligent design bills. This is ridiculous. That happens often, but West Virginia has more than enough Republicans who could pass this bill if they wanted to. If they succeed, and if there's confusion about what the bill does or does not allow, it'll only make lives worse for the teachers who already work in the state, ranked 47th in education. My God. Parts of this article were published earlier, because Republicans never learn. Wow, man. That is sad. That is straight up sad. I'm just glad I got out of there, for real. That place is terrible. Anyway, let me know what you think about it in the comments. This is just sad.